Hello there. Today we will start the second chapter of Hornbill, the main course book of class 11th. It is a memoir titled We Are Not Afraid to Die If We All Can Be Together, written by Gordon Cook and Ellen East. What is a memoir? A memoir is a collection of memories that an individual writes about certain moments or events, public or private, in his life or the life of the person about whom it is talking. How is it different from a biography or an autobiography? Well, while biographies and autobiographies cover a large part of one's life and consist of many events, a memoir deals with an incident or two covering a short period of time. In this memoir, the writer is talking about just one event, how they faced the storm in which they were stuck in the January of 1977 and survived. The name of their ship was Wave Walker. Basically, this one is a survival story, kind of story you might have seen on National Geographic or Discovery Channel. Coming to the writer, Gordon Cook, the narrator of the story, was a 37-year-old businessman when he, along with his family, left the shore for this voyage. Now, why did he want to go on this round the world voyage? Well, 200 years ago, that is in the year 1776, a famous explorer, Captain James Cook, had been on a round the world voyage. Now, Gordon Cook and his wife dreamt of duplicating that trip. What do you think? He simply got up one day and began the trip? No, his boat, Wave Walker, a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hulled beauty, was professionally built. Wave Walker had a watertight body with a wooden hull. What is the hull? It is the hollow, lowermost part of a ship, floating partially submerged and supporting the remainder of the ship. They had spent all their leisure time, that is their free time, honing their seafaring skills. What does it mean? It means they had been spending all their time sharpening or improving their skills to travel by sea for the last 16 years. They tested their ship in the roughest weather they could find to ensure that it would be able to survive such a long voyage in uncertain weather. Voyage means journey by sea or space. You see, a lot of hard work and sacrifices are needed to achieve your dreams. Nothing happens in a day. Who all were with him? His wife Mary, son Jonathan, who was 6 years old, and 7-year-old daughter Susan. They started from Plymouth in England in July 1976. The first part of their planned 3-year, 1,50,000 kilometers long journey passed well. They smoothly sailed down to the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. At Cape Town, South Africa, they took on two crew members, American Larry Vigil and Swiss Herb Siegler. Why did they need these crew members? Because they knew they might need extra help to tackle South Indian Ocean, which is one of the roughest seas in the world. That means the action of our story is witnessed by 6 people in all who were there in the ship Wave Walker.
Before we begin the chapter, let us have a clear idea of some of the terms used in this story. First, hull. Now, hull is the material or the shape of the boat. Now, when the boat is placed in water, the place where it touches the water, that is the water line, this line. So, as long as we do not cross this line, we are safe. Bow is the front of the boat and stern is the back side. Port is the left hand side of the boat and starboard is the right hand side. Now these port and starboard are in relation to the bow. Okay, when bow is in the front, left hand side is the port and right hand side is the starboard. Now the sails are these pieces of cloth that are used for balancing, for speed and direction of the boat. Mainmast is the highest one in the center generally, and storm jib is the smaller one, which is used during storms to maintain the balance and direction of the boat. Rigging are the wires and threads that are used to keep all these things in place. Another important term that we have is keel. Keel is the this lower end of the boat. What is the function of the keel? The keel actually helps in balancing the boat. You see what happens? Sometimes because of the waves, the boat tilts in one direction. Because of the weight of the keel, it is able to balance itself again. Now, sometimes when the waves are really high and the boat that is traveling with the waves is capsized, that is, it is overturned. And then when the next wave comes, it turns back in place. Sometimes in this process, a lot of water enters the boat and this water needs to be taken out. So now I think we are ready to start the chapter.
Finally, the action begins. Just 1 day after leaving Cape Town, they began to encounter strong gales. Gales means winds. As a result, the waves were as high as 15 meters, the height of their mainmast. What is a mast? It is a tall, upright post or other structure on a ship or boat in sailing vessels, generally carrying a sail or sails. By December 25, they were 35,000 kilometers east of Cape Town. In spite of the atrocious weather, that is bad weather, they celebrated Christmas. The weather did not change till New Year. They were hopeful that it would change soon. Well, the dawn, that is early morning of 2nd January, saw the weather change. What do you think? It changed for good? Actually, it changed for worst. They were sailing with only a small storm jib. A storm jib is a small triangular stay sail set forward the mast in a ship. Their speed was 8 knots. Knots is a unit of speed equal to 1 nautical mile per hour, something like 1.15 or 1.85 kilometers per hour. So the ship was sailing on these huge waves. You know how a wave moves high up and then down? So whenever they were on top of a wave, they could see the new waves rolling towards them. Very scary indeed. And the noise of the air like screams followed by sprays of water. The situation was getting out of hand. They dropped the storm jib to slow down the ship. They hit a heavy mooring rope across the back part of the ship in a loop, that is, they tied the anchor across the boat. They lashed or hit everything with double force. They done, that is, put on their oilskins. Oilskins are waterproof cotton clothes and life jackets, attached lifelines, and went through the life raft drills and waited. What else could they do? The situation has been worsening since the early morning and it remained so till 6 p.m. At about 6 p.m., there was silence, very unpleasant. Ever heard of silence before storm? It was that silence, clear indication that worse was on its way. No sound of wind. Sky grew dark. They felt a cloud was coming towards the stern, that is the back part of the ship. But oh no, it was actually a huge wave, perfectly vertical, making almost 90 degrees, double the height of the other waves. It was fierce, unpleasantly frightening. He thought they would sail over it. But it was so vertical. A great explosion shook, vibrated the deck, the floor of the ship. A torrent, a really fast moving stream of white and green water entered the ship and he lost his control. His head was smashed badly in the wheel and he flew overboard, sinking below the waves. He peacefully accepted the coming death and started losing consciousness. But then his head popped out of the water. He was in the water. He saw Wavewalker, the ship capsizing, the mast almost horizontal. That is, the ship was overturned in the water. But then came another wave and it was upright again. Remember, he had tied himself to a lifeline. It became taut. He grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into the main boom. Boom is the pole that controls the angle and shape of the sail. He was tossed around like a rag doll. His left ribs cracked and his mouth was filled with blood and broken teeth. In all this commotion, he reached the wheel, lined the stern for the next wave, and waited. There was water everywhere, but he couldn't leave the wheel. Then appeared his wife from the door and announced, "We are sinking." He asked her to take care of the wheel and climb towards the hatch, that is the door. Larry and Herman, remember the two crew members? They were pumping water out. There were things like clothes, crockery, charts, etc. everywhere. Starboard of the ship had sunk. He swam and crawled to reach the children's cabin and asked if they were fine. They said yes. Stu had a bump over her head. Nothing to worry, he thought. He found screw, hammer, and canvas and went back to the deck to try to fix the starboard. Now, starboard is the right side of the ship when the person is facing the bow, else they would sink. He stretched the canvas cloth and secured the waterproof hatch which covered the wide open holes. Some water streamed, that is, came from below, and some was now deflected over the side. The hand pump was blocked as rubbish was floating around the cabins and entered it. The electric pump short-circuited. As the water level rose, the narrator found two hand pumps had been removed along with a rope, jib, a small boat, and the main anchor. Luckily, he found another electric pump under the chart room. He connected it to an outpipe and it started working. Throughout the night, they kept pumping the water, making mayday calls, signals in disaster situations which were not replied. Sue's head had swollen alarmingly, but she said, "I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save all of us." And she is only 7. You see, more than age, it is the experiences and circumstances that bring in maturity. The little girl understood what is more important, a swollen head or lives. Whether they survived the disaster or not, we will do in the next video. Till then, thank you and keep enjoying literature.